All right, mate, how you doing? I am looking for a London best gun.
Of course, sir. How can I help you?
Well, you probably know the sort of thing I'm looking for. It needs to be a side lock, it needs to be built in London, it needs to be one of the best guns ever made. But there is a small caveat.
Of course, sir. Is it that you need a long stock?
No, mate. Although I look and sound wealthy, I am actually dirt poor. So what I really need is the cheapest possible gun with all of those credentials. So having worked in the gun trade for a number of years, you would be surprised that that happens quite regularly. Somebody wants something that is the best for a lot less money. And those two things don't go hand in hand, except when they do. And we've described in the past that you need to accept certain concessions if you want something cheaper than market value, and this could be no truer. You know when you're supposed to be saving for a house, but that just means you got cash, you can't help but spend it? This is one of those things that I bought because I couldn't help but spend it. It is quite possibly the most rancid beautiful gun of all time. This is a J. Woodward & Sons. And if you don't know who they are, let's lay it out for you. James Woodward is a name that isn't a household name like Purdy or Holland or Boss, but he came up around the same time. He was apprenticed to Charles Moore in 1827 and joined forces to make Moore and Woodward in 1844. By the 1870s, he actually went out by himself and J. Woodward & Sons was born. Until eventually in 1948, after a particularly tough few war years, where I believe their premises was actually bombed and they had to move in with Grant and Langs for a few years, they wanted to sell and they sold the Purdys. Purdys wanted them because their over and under, the Woodward over and under, was probably one of the best over and under designs of all time, up there next to the Boss. Obviously over time the Boss has become more popular, but that Woodward design it's not half bad. As such, I think it's fair to say that since the Second World War, the London gun trade and the English gun trade has changed substantially, and there's been some ups and downs across that. Woodward never had to suffer that fate. It's like your childhood sweetheart. She'll always be your best love because you didn't have, all of the adult bullshit on top. There was never a bad period, and as such, this gun is a little like that. And Woodwards have always been made, or were always made, to the best exacting standards that guns of that period were made to. This one is not much different. We're going to have a little look over it and explain why it was cheap and, well, explain to you why I don't care. I've not actually shot this yet, so before we go on to the bit that you're going to watch at the end, that I will do now, I'm going to go and shoot it, just in case it doesn't work and I lose all enthusiasm. All right, moment of truth. Here we go. Compex 21s. Probably appropriate to the size and weight. The minger that everyone can love. Every time I get bored of guns, there's a short list of guns that I can look at that make me remember. And I was complaining on the way to work today to a good mate of mine that I think I was a bit gunned out. Which is why I'm filming with this, because how can you be gunned out with a Woodward? It's above a gun. It's more than a gun. More than a woman. Let's shoot some clays. Fast partridge over the shoulder. Weapon. Well, she works. Not on hard pairs though. There is something special about a Woodward. To be fair, the sleeving job on this is actually really good. It's really good. Every time I think that one of these isn't enough gun for comp shooting, you just have to remember A, it needs to be shot slightly differently, and B, just look at Simon Reinhold, who can shoot one of these better than most people can shoot a drain pipe. And I do love my over and unders, but... So it worked. I don't know how I'm going to feel at the end of this, in like the outro where I was unsure whether it would or wouldn't, but by God it works. Mate, I've said it in a few videos, but when a gun doesn't fit you very well at all, and you can still shoot it like that, that is a gun that has some sort of delicious movement and mating with yourself. It's probably a bit much. I'm going to take that. That's a weird word. Don't say delicious mating ever again. That is a side-by-side. You know, there are a whole array of people that will frown upon this for being quite such a rat, but it's not a rat. She's beautiful.
Quick break from the video to talk about these custom fit guards. They make custom molded ear protection just for you. How good are they? Well, I've got 3 pairs. That's how good they are. They come to your house and take ear impressions, and then a few weeks later in the post you get a pair of these. These are custom fit guards, electronic ear protection. They are amazing. They do all the way down to just standard blocking ones. Go check out their website, and if you want 10% off, it's the code TGS10 at the checkout.
So we were down at Purbeck finishing off another video, and to be honest, I couldn't resist coming up for a few more shots of this. Last time out with it was a bit rushed, and it's a bit nice. It really is a bit nice. It's got that hidden third bite in there. Third bite, how beautiful is that? I mean, it's not like groundbreaking, but it is lovely. Best part of 100 years old, still kicks ass. Can you say kicks ass about such a fine thing? Dominates. You know, you can't own a Woodward and not own a thesaurus. Or maybe you can. Maybe you can go, it's good, it's really good, and it kicks ass. They really knew what they were doing when they built these back in the day. You pick up a lot of over and unders now, and they just feel a bit misbalanced, heavy, hard work. This is not hard work. It is quite possibly one of the most beautiful and instinctive guns ever built. I would describe myself as a slightly average shot, but this gun makes you feel way better than you are. And its century of abuse, it's still just a work of art. It's a thing of beauty. What I'm glad about is that someone, when they did that sleeving job, did a good job. That is vital. There is nothing wrong with being a little bit more Simon Reinhold. Could this be the ultimate tool for getting at them? I'm gonna have one more pair before we put it away and we get on with the work that we actually came here to do. Heartbreaking, they don't want to adjust it. It doesn't fit that well in length. The comb is quite high, which for one of these is quite nice. But I don't want to adjust it. I know it's kind of a bit mangled and manky, but adding a pad to the back would be sad. It does need to be done though if I'm going to shoot this. Although I guess for the amount that I'm actually going to shoot it in any competitive scenario, and let's be honest, with my shooting ability, it probably doesn't make a damn difference. Shoot it and enjoy it for what it is. You know, I probably, bar just giving it a good lick of oil, probably won't even clean it up for the time being. It tells a story. Not a story of love, but it tells a story. Guys, back to the studio. It worked! I feel at this stage I should have done like 2 intros to this segment. One where it works and one where it didn't, but I'm gonna go with it probably works. This gun is not in the best of order. The stock is actually the nicest bit about it, although, strange, I don't think it's the original stock, or maybe it is. Maybe it is. Again, the action is so rotten that I would give that this stock could be original. The wood and the selection and the finish and the checkering is all to pretty much how they should be. So let's go with that it's original. The only thing that I think might not be original is it might have at one point been a Woodward Prince of Wales grip. And I only say this because the trigger guard is a slightly funny shape and there is a cut and join in it. Whether that was because it rusted and cut through, who knows? But as we can see, this is where it starts to get funny. The stock is about the only part on this gun that is nice, by the way. There's no cracks. Yes, it's shrunken a bit. Yes, it's had a few knocks, but it is honest. And to be honest, this checkering is just, oh, beautifully aged. If we have a little look here, you can see that it's rusted the entire thickness of the trigger guard. And if you look further down where you can see the join, just about, and you can start to see a few little other pit marks. In fact, this part of the trigger guard is probably the cleanest part of the gun. If we can have a look in here, you can see the indicator that it has been a bit of a sleeper for some portion of its life, given that it has got thick congealed dust mixed with the oil that was clearly sprayed all over it. As we can see in the headwork here, there was a fair amount of oiling that went on. However, not enough, because what you're looking at isn't the part I'm looking at. You're looking at this pitted sidelock. This gun at some point in its life was so rusty that it actually ate into the sidelock metal. That must have been absolutely grotty, gipping, disgusting. But, stupidly, those little stippled and golden lead cocking indicators, oh, they are so beautiful. And you start to get an indication of why these guns are so nice. They're probably one of those beautifully proportioned locks and designs out there, I think, for a classic, boring sidelock, if you like. And if you can call a London sidelock boring, but you know, we do see a lot of them, and you've seen a lot of them in the channel, certainly when we do halts, and you kind of numb to a Holland Royal after a while, and it's so perfect, but you start to look for the interesting stuff. These, because they're slightly rarer, are still, there's just something about them that just stands them out from the rest. I don't know what it is. I can put my finger on the various parts, and we're about to do that. The safety catch, the T-bar safety. Look at that. If ever there was a safety catch that could catch your heart, it is wafer thin. It is wafer thin, rising up to this little lump with beautiful checkering. It's so positive and so beautifully made. The top lever as well has got that beautiful sort of curve to it. Just nice. You know, it's not big, it's not obtuse, and it just runs and flows with the lines. The trigger guards on Woodwards do vary. This one seems a bit bigger than usual, but probably not. They are less rounded. They kind of, I don't like using the S word, but this gun has some sex appeal. It does. It's just, it's like a fine car. I get told off all the time for just gushing over guns, but it's nice. Come on. Even in this condition. If you saw any other gun in this condition, you'd just condemn it. But this one, wow. The pitting on this side is extremely bad. Sorry. Let's get back to the progress. So, things that I adore. Safety catch, cocking indicators, trigger guard, general lines. The only thing that would make this better would be to have the Woodward grip. The arcaded fences. I understand that, you know, you see imitations of this, and lots of people have done them since Woodward disappeared. Well, you can still, I believe, commission Woodward from Purdy. Isn't that just beautiful, the way that this beading runs all the way up and into the first arcade, and they then run up into the rib, the 29-inch barrels, which were standard for a Woodward. You do see them outside of that, but that is what Woodward preferred to build, because that's what sort of suited their weighting and balancing, and I would agree that 29 inches is a very civilized length. This was one of a pair. If this is in this condition, its brother is either mint or dead. Somebody's had the hinge pin out at some point to do something, or tried to get it out at some point and done a really fairly hack job of it. The arcaded fences, so let's get back to the beautiful things. The arcaded fences, the engraving, that sort of not so fine scroll, no rose and scroll, just scroll with Woodward inlaid in this beautiful, oh, woof. If you think that's not enough to fall in love with a Woodward, then maybe you don't get it. I've always been a Woodward fanboy, and they do make some absolute stunners. They make some guns with more interesting opening mechanisms, and like I said, oh, there are some stunners. But this, for a run-of-the-mill shagged one, is still stunning. When I say shagged, I do mean it. Apart from the stock, the entire exterior of the lock plates action bar is pitted and pretty rank. The barrels are sleeved. That destroys the value as much as anything else. I mean, not that the value was there to start with. If we pop the fore end off, firstly, the number 2 on the inside there, that is nice. You know, instead of having to flip it over and just make sure you're putting the right fore end on your pair, to have it engraved there in that beautiful script is a nice touch. The kickers are pitted beyond belief, as is the fore end iron. There is countless articles online about Woodward, so if you want to learn more, go and look there for the more specific details. There's some nice stories and some amazing guns. Oh yeah, the entire outside of the barrels is covered in light rust as well. But if you have a little look at this, is the last thing I'm going to point at and go woof. That ball is scalloped down off the detonation into the barrels. Firstly, the metal-to-metal fit is superlative, as you'd expect on a London best gun. That is what you're paying for in certain regards. But look how it just bleeds seamlessly down into the barrels. Other downsides, she's a bit wobbly. This is the sort of gun that really turns me on. Not a lot of money, a bit tired. But what a piece of history. Guys, we'll see you soon.